Hey guys, Mike, your host of Craft Beer Storm. It's Monday, so we bring you another special guest. We interview somebody every Monday, 360 in the brewing world, craft beer world. This week we explore insurance. We didn't really talk about it, so we have Kyle Rheiner. He's from Arthur Hill Insurance, and he has the website craftbrewinginsurance.com. He's worked in a brewery, but now he's following his passion. He's insuring brewers, which they need insurance. I mean, God forbid, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. So it's important. So we had a great conversation, and here we go. And we have Kyle Rheiner here, and he's from Arthur Hall Insurance. It's craft brewing insurance, providing insurance to breweries, which is important. We never really touched upon this. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm all right, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, and I wanted to have you on. We connected, and I'm like, let me have Kyle on. He probably heard a lot of stories from breweries and, knows what the issues are. And I mean, it's a risky business. There's a lot of risks that go into breweries. The safety risks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I would say, a lot of, some of the folks who start a brewery, a lot of times, hey, I'm brewing in my garage. I love it. I'm passionate about it. I'm making good beer. My friends like it. My friends all agree I should start a brewery. And then I started a brewery. And, you can kind of speak to this, but, it kind of goes to, all right, now it's a business. And now you loved brewing and making beer, but you end up doing a lot of the paperwork and someone else is brewing the beer for you. Would you agree?
Yeah, pretty much, But I was always involved in the process. But I mean, that's usually what happens. Eventually you just get removed from the actual process, and because it is a business.
You can't do it all, right?
No, you can't.
You can't do it all, so you got to outsource it. They're using your recipe, but and your oversight. But ultimately, I think that you kind of step back and you got to run the show.
No, it's a business. The brewery's a business. It's cool. You want to get into it, the brewing the beer at home, which is what I did. And I had an idea, and then, we did but people like the beer, like you said. And then we did a Kickstarter, and we raised like $11,000, Okay. People were just giving us money, and I'm like, all right, maybe it's a good idea. And, the job that I had, I moved up to New Hampshire, and then that job went away. They outsourced my role.
And you were you were a CPA?
I am a CPA still, yes, and I was a director of audit up in New Hampshire for a company. They were going to do an IPO, and they needed somebody to just kind of develop an internal control environment, and they needed an internal audit function. And I'm like, all right, I can do it. And I always had the idea of brewing beer with this Irish barley because we lived in England, and I spent a lot of time in Ireland, and like nobody's doing this in the U.S. And
so what's the difference between the barley that they're using here versus the Irish, or what? I mean, kind of drew you to that made it different.
I don't know. It's just like nobody was doing it, and the beer that I made with this Irish barley, I mean, everybody liked it, and I liked it as well. I'm like, there's got to be something to it. It's kind of like grapes, where you grow grapes in. You could grow grapes in wherever, like New York or something.
California versus Pennsylvania.
Or, Pennsylvania, or you can grow them in France, right? So it depends on the climate and, Ireland. I mean, if you look at Ireland from a satellite, it's like freaking green, man. The whole thing's green. It's like no joke,
excited.
So it's a very fertile island. And you're going there, you were saying, yeah?
Yeah, so my wife and I, this will be our 10-year anniversary. So, thinking of that green and thinking beer, we're thinking, all right, let's go to Oregon and let's go to Washington. Take a little bit of we'll fly out there, we'll get a car, we'll travel around. And then, my father-in-law says, why don't you check out Ireland? I'm like, okay, why? So we look it up, and, a week in Ireland for both of us is about $600-700 less expensive than two of us going to Oregon, which is crazy.
That's crazy, yeah. And you're in the U.S., I know. Yeah, they have good deals there. I mean, and it's a beautiful country. The people are fantastic. You can travel a lot of ground, like in a week or 2 weeks. You can visit the whole thing, just make a loop.
Yeah.
And
would you, what we're looking to do is fly into Dublin, spend a few days there, rent a car, or take the train and go to Galway, spend a night or two there, and then come back to Dublin, fly home.
Galway's nice. If you could spend some more time on the West Coast, it's beautiful. Like, when are you going? What time of the year?
It'll be late July.
Yeah, like the West Coast there, the Cliffs of Moher. That whole West Coast of Ireland's beautiful. If you can hang out there,
Okay.
It's really good. And then Dublin's I haven't been to Dublin. Actually, I'm doing the Dublin Marathon this year. I've done a marathon every
Full
year
marathon,
for the past.
26?
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, I've done.
Wow.
I did DC. I did the Marine Marathon in DC 2018. I did New York last year. And then this year, an opportunity came up again. I did it for the American Cancer Society. They shot an email out, who wants to run Dublin, I'm like, I'll do it. What the hell? I was planning to do a marathon anyway, and, they got me an entry fee, and the money's going to charity. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I can get my marathon.
Now, do you think while you're running, you'll even see the things around you, or, you're kind of just entranced in the run and keeping your pace?
Well, the whole scenery is there. I mean, still, and New York. I ran over bridges in New York. It was crazy. Like you run over the Queensboro Bridge, you run into the Bronx, you run over a bridge, and run over the Verrazano Bridge. Right? It's like a huge bridge, but it's pretty beautiful. And in DC, I mean, the marathons are all over DC. So you see the Capitol building, right? You're running, and you see the monuments, and it finishes at Iwo Jima, right? And I got a picture at Iwo Jima. It's pretty cool. So you do marathons. You do, experience the whole area as well. So that should be pretty cool.
Very cool.
I think Dublin, and we'll do another marathon every year in a different place until I can't do it anymore. Okay. So that's my goal.
Yeah. We're looking forward to going to the Guinness plant, as well as Jameson, and obviously all the sites and whatnot. But I'm really excited to see how green that place is.
Oh yeah, it's just crazy green. Yeah. So big lush. If we go on the back roads, you'll see it's just crazy green. Yeah, it's very good. So anyway, but getting back to you, you're in the insurance business, and specifically for breweries. How'd you get into that? I mean, you have a history of in breweries as well, huh? Tell us about your history.
Sure, yeah. So, I grew up, my mother always worked in restaurants, and then I grew up working in restaurants, and then I ended up in college working at Iron Hill Brewery in Pennsylvania. And 10-barrel brew system, solid kitchen, and, so I was there as a server, but as a server, we had to learn how to brew. We had to understand the process, because then we had to explain it to the patrons. So, we learned the process. I had always, even in college, I was never really like a Miller Lite drinker. I always wanted something. I always was drinking. At that point, it was kind of Guinness and Yingling, right? So, lagers with some flavor, and, the stout's got some flavor. So I always kind of sought out a little something more. And again, there we had to learn, what I learned the most there was that when somebody says, I don't like beer, we gotta, that's not a thing. They just haven't had the right beer yet, Mm-hmm. So you can back into it. And this is one of my favorite things to do, is when I'm speaking with somebody that, oh, I don't like beer, I drink wine. Okay, well, what kind of wine do you like? Well, now if we're at a brewery, I can take that flavor profile and say, okay, well, I think you'll like this beer. My wife's a dirty martini drinker. Not that she drinks a lot of them, but that's what she likes to drink. So she likes a Belgian triple. It's a boozy beer. It's a smooth beer. It's got the alcohol content that you would kind of get from a martini. So
that's cool.
I was at a beer event with, it's funny, I don't know if you're familiar with the grocery chain, a Wegmans.
Okay.
Familiar with Wegmans?
Yep.
So now they sell a ton of beer out of their store as well, but we're there at a dinner table. It's myself and some of the Wegmans executives, the husbands and the wives. So all the husbands are sitting here, they're drinking their beer, and one of the wives is sitting next to me, and so we're doing a beer pairing, right? You get a beer, you get a plate of food, right? So we go through 4 of these, and we get to the 4th, and I noticed that she's not drinking any of her beers. And I'm like, well, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, I don't like beer. I was like, okay. So I put this to the test. I literally said, well, what do you drink? And she said, I like dirty martinis. I said, so does my wife. get this beer. And Sam Adams had given us, he had a Belgian triple. Jim was actually at the event. And one of the beers was a Belgian triple. And I gave it to her, and she loved it. Her husband is high-fiving me, like chest bumping me by the end of the night. It's hilarious. But, it just always comes back to there's a beer out there for everybody. You just haven't had the right one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's so many different beers. Yeah, we do. I do 3 podcasts a week, and one is Mondays we interview somebody. Wednesdays, we just pick a different style on the Great American Beer Festival listing. Okay. There's 100 beers on there, and they have subcategories. So there's like a load of beers out there, different types of beer that people don't know about. And like you said, I mean, she likes the martinis. You give her a Belgian triple. It's like kind of a boozy, like, ooh, she probably like a imperial stout or something, like a barrel aged imperial stout. She'd probably go nuts about that too. So there's really a beer for everybody. You just got to get out there and try it, and don't be afraid because it's dark. Everybody's scared because it's a dark beer.
Yeah, well, that's even the thing with Guinness. I don't like Guinness because it's heavy. Well, no, it's not heavy. It's 4.2%. It's the lightest beer you can get. It's just dark, and you have that thought of it's heavy because that's the perception, right?
Yeah, but it's good. It's good. Stouts are great.
So anyway, working in restaurants, working at a brewery, understanding the process. I was in the financial services industry, and I wasn't passionate about it. And I was already kind of insurance licensed at that point, working with some of these financial products. I ended up I basically quit. This is 7. This will be actually 8. It'll be year 8, kicks off in March. And, I quit. I was making good money, and my wife was home with our first daughter. She was 1. My wife is a teacher, so, she was home. I had, one income, 2 cars, 1 house, 1 baby, and a wife's not working. And I quit my job to do something I was more passionate about. And that was just, getting into the insurance business, being able to, insure the things that were physical, that I can touch and feel. A lot of my network, a lot of my friends were, we were, I guess, late 20s, and, buying houses, buying cars, having children. And I thought, okay, well, I can do home and auto insurance and get this kicked off. Eventually, after about a year and a half, taking all the exams I could, becoming a CIC, which is the Certified Insurance Counselor, which is like you, right? You took, 2.5 years of, accounting exams to become a CPA. So I've done that in the insurance world. Mm-hmm. And I then started to dive into more complex risks. And so I started insuring restaurants because I knew restaurants. I worked in restaurants. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that our insurance agency was very strong with insuring manufacturing companies. Well, a brewery, a distillery, cider, wine, mead, seltzer now, all these folks are manufacturers of alcohol. So, they are manufacturing companies with a liquor liability. So I kind of had to learn the manufacturing process and all the things that go wrong over there, and then marry that with my understanding of liquor liability from doing my serving and bartending. I wrote 1, I wrote 4, I wrote 10 in breweries, and now all of a sudden, overnight success. 8 years later, I insure about 170 breweries, distilleries, cideries, and that sort of thing. So I run craftbrewinginsurance.com, and it's a lot more fun when you get to do what you want. I spend my days in breweries. Tomorrow I'll be in a brewery. They do about 19,000 barrels a year. I walk in, it's just stainless steel everywhere, 90 barrel brights, and this is one of my favorite places to go. So these are things I get to do that are pretty neat. Insurance isn't always boring. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's great that you can kind of, have a career and build a business around what you like, which is beer and these breweries. Now, you know, and they do need insurance. I mean, it's like in the beginning we were talking about. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of hazards that could happen. With brewing. It's not like an easy process where you pour water, pour powdered, stuff into water, and then poof, there's beer. There's boiling, there's transferring, there is, if you don't know what you're doing, I mean, you could have stuff spraying out, right? 200 degree liquid, God forbid,
Yeah.
people have gotten burned, and, also liability, product liability.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, you're looking at the burns. So we're talking, you got to wear the rubber gloves, you got to wear the boots, you got to wear the eyewear. I actually was going on stage, I think it was 2 years ago at Penn State University. We do one of our annual brewers meetings there. I'm literally going to go on stage in about 5 to 7 minutes, and I get a text message from one of the breweries I insure, and he says, "Hey, my guy is at the ER. He's got caustic in his eyes." And I'm like, I'm literally going on stage in about 5 minutes to talk about the risks of brewing and getting caustic in your eyes. Like, this couldn't be more timely. I'm very sorry, and I hope he's okay, and, we'll handle this, but, like, that's unfortunate, and those are the things. So now even when I go into that brewery, even when they're eating lunch, they're eating their lunch with their eyeglasses on. It's funny, but it's a habit, right? It's easy to wear them. It's also easy not to wear them. But, when you go blind for a day, you start to think about why you should be wearing them.
Jesus, I know. I'm always on these guys, like, wear gloves. Don't think twice before you do anything, before you connect anything, before you turn that valve. Stop and think. Where is the liquid flowing? Well, is it flowing out, in? Where is the valve open? Yeah.
And Michael, that's kind of the point of it too, is that when a brewer does this every day, right? They get used to it. They get good at it. They do it quicker. They do it without thinking. And also within that, they can get a little lax on it, right? They can forget to do things like
whoops, sort of or leave something, leave a valve open. I've done that a couple times where I just left the valve open, and I walked away out of a room and then I forgot about it, and there's like gallons of liquid on the floor, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and
damn it,
that's money.
That's money,
Money.
And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But you just forget, and you just need to be there. Someone needs to be there looking at it, and also, like, if you have a whirlpool or something going on and you're transferring something, and you don't watch that level, it could overflow, and it's just like,
Yeah. And they talk about the pilots, right? And somebody who's going to fly a plane. There's this ridiculously long checklist, but it's super imperative that you check off every box in order, because those are people's lives that you're dealing with. Obviously, brewing's a little different, but I mean, we've had, right? You have kegs exploded, breweries. We've had people pass away.
There was an issue. Yeah, there was an issue up in Ports. Now they're Cisco. They used to be.
Red Hook. Something like that?
Red Hook. Yeah, where they had the plastic kegs. And some guy was. That's just an example. He was pressurizing it, and he pressurized it too much. Exploded. It killed him. He had a beautiful wife and young baby, and he got killed. So that stuff is just it's terrible when it happens. But you have to protect, I guess, yourself, and what you can do is insurance. Also, insurance for the family as well, to take care of them. So.
Correct. Especially if, say, you're the brewery owner and you have loans out on the brewery and something happens and you pass. Well, now, who's going to pay off this loan? And that's where, say, like a key man life insurance would come into play, pay off that loan.
Exactly.
So that the family's not coming out of pocket for that, which it's not easy to come out of pocket $700,000.
Key man is what it is. It's a key man. I mean, if that person leaves, or God forbid something happens to them, what happens to the business? Who can replace him or her? And
I've had kegs explode. I've had kegs stolen. I've had kegs freeze. It's interesting. Contaminated beer. I just recently had a one batch of beer. It was about $14,000. We paid the claim. Contaminated beer. Didn't even, came out a completely different color. Couldn't sell it. Lost
bacteria
income.
Or something, or
something like that. Within the brewing process, the brew house wasn't made to create this style of beer, and just didn't really work. A lot of times, and there's, I don't know, obviously if you don't clean a tank very well, then you end up with that bacteria. Again, that's where the caustic comes in, and the chemicals. Right.
Also, caustic. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As
Just
fun as it
handling
is
that.
to brew beer, it's a business is a business. You got to be cognizant of that.
So, and I see that I couldn't access it, but there was the article, I think the 10 common claims from craft breweries. What are some of the big ones that you've seen?
So product recall, right? A beer goes out. I've had cans explode, right? So maybe you got a certain style of beer. I actually had this happen. I was sitting with a friend at a coffee shop. Once in a while, we'll trade beers. So I'm sitting at a coffee shop, and it was some sort of saison, something a little funky, and it was going through. So we're sitting at the coffee shop having just having a coffee, talking. We swap beers, and the beer's sitting there on the table. And this is so strange. This beer explodes while sitting next to me. It basically flies up and hits the ceiling and comes back down. I'm like, holy shit!
Whoa.
Like what just happened? And so I had called the brewery. The brewery, I think they're in Indiana, and they said, sorry, this is happening. It's going through secondary fermentation in the can. Right. So now you have that product recall claim. How big is that batch? Can you track it? Right. That's why it's so important to keep records of this stuff. Where is it at? How do we get it back? A lot of times there is coverage for that, right? Product recall insurance, product withdrawal, withdraw that from the market. But then the things that kind of happen with that, it could be obviously injuries, that sort of thing. But you got to really, notify your local news folks. Hey, get this on the news. That's 10 Barrel had that with Swill, right? Find your beer, go get that beer out of your fridge, put on glasses and gloves, and open it up and dispose it. Dispose it somehow, throw it away. And with that can come negative PR. Now you're losing income because people don't want to come to your brewery. So I've had some of those claims come up. The recall happens, the contaminated beer happens. The majority of the claims are more on the property insurance side. So if anybody's out there, the general liability is kind of be your slip and fall, bodily injury in that case could also be like food poisoning, but it's kind of rare. When you're dealing with 160 to 200 degree water, a lot of that bacteria and that stuff is it goes away. But if the cans are nasty, the cans aren't clean, sanitized, you have those situations. But
everything has to be clean and sanitized, everything along the whole process, and it's just a very meticulous thing that, a lot of people get sloppy, and that's what happens. People get sloppy. They don't clean a tank properly, bacteria.
I find a lot of times these breweries, the last, a startup brewery, the last thing they think about is insurance. I get a call, hey, we're opening up this week. I need insurance. Well, it takes weeks to get you a quote, right? And I don't want to give you a quote. I want to give you a full, here's a plan. Here's how we enact this. Here's how we protect you. Here's the things that you need to do. So it's a partnership. And again, some of the folks just, hey, I've been brewing beer. I raised some money. I'm going to open a brewery. I need insurance tomorrow. It just kind of doesn't work that way. So a lot, when you look at an insurance policy, there are a number of coverages, but really the focus is going to be on your property insurance. And property insurance sounds like, okay, my kegs, my building, but there's way more to that as far as that's where your business interruption insurance comes in. That's where your recall insurance comes in. That is where your power outage leading to spoilage, leading to lost income. A lot of those things are going to have that domino effect. So the property insurance is, as much as it sounds like, okay, you're going to cover my kegs, my tables, my chairs, my fermenters, my wiring. A lot of those, somebody hits a pole down the street, you're out of business. It's Friday afternoon. You're about to open for happy hour. And you're going to be open all weekend. You're hoping to make $20,000, $30,000 this weekend, but you can't open. If you don't have the appropriate, you skimped that $500 or that $1,000 on your property insurance. Well, now you're out $30,000 because you didn't buy it. So, it's not always, I would say it's kind of a lot of times when you scale back your insurance, you're also scaling back coverage. So there's a lot of those things that kind of come into play that, we need to educate brewery owners on what that property insurance really means.
Yeah, you got to have appropriate coverage. You can't just be, there could be too much coverage, I guess, but, you need the adequate coverage, God forbid something happens, sure. I guess, there's minimums.
And what's the size brew house of your brewery?
Oh, it's 7-barrel.
7-barrel. Okay. And what, 7 fermenters and brights, or did you go to 15 or 14?
I got 2 7-barrel fermenters. Actually, I'm selling the location, so I will not have a brewery for now. I would love to partner with somebody else in the future and open a bigger one, or maybe do a brew pub. That's what I would love to do. But I had the brewery for almost 6 years, so I'm kind of.
And that's in what, Portsmouth?
Yeah, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It's still for sale, actually. We're still trying to sell it. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the reason for the sale?
Well, I'm relocating back to New York. My kids are here now, so this is kind of like a family kind of thing. But so I just can't be far away from them. But I had the business. We grew it, and we had distributors, and yeah, it was awesome. But it's great for somebody who wants to start up a brewery. If you know anybody, let me know. If you know somebody who wants to start up, it's just turnkey, and it's a ridiculous price.
Yeah, or even a second location kind of deal.
Second location, yeah. Like if you know anybody, you're probably connected with a lot of people. They should come see it. It's like stupid price. Like I've dropped it. Yeah. So, but it's still for sale. I mean, all I want to do pretty much is pay the bank off, and I got to owe a landlord some money, and got to pay the real estate lady. But but I have I've gained a lot of knowledge from it. I mean, I've opened it from scratch. Me and my 401k, that's what I keep saying. We opened it up, and
you took a penalty on that, taking that before 69.5.
I did, but I had a big. What I did is I did that when we opened the brewery, and I wrote off this section 129. I forget what it's called. Like you can write off a whole bunch of stuff. Like the same year. So that's what I did.
Well,
so I just offset everything and it worked out. Actually, I got a refund, which is pretty cool. But, whatever. It's legal and, so.
So can you talk real quick? I mean, I've seen it, but can you talk about the landscape in Portsmouth from 2014 until now and how that's changed?
Oh, man. Like when I opened it, it was 22-ounce bottle. Well, my whole business plan was 22-ounce bottles. I keep saying it. People are going to get sick of me, but I mean, things change. Like it was 22-ounce bottles at that time, and there were 20 breweries in the state. Like we had the first meeting was Granite State Brew Association. We all met at Millie's in Manchester, and it was like 20 of us, like sitting around the table. It was 20 breweries. And over the 5 years, it quintupled. There's over 100 breweries now in New Hampshire. So
that's insane.
Yeah, so it just quintupled, and then everything went to cans, right? So bottles were easier for me.
I was going to say, do you remember glass growlers?
I have we had glass growlers. Yeah, we have them glass growlers. I discontinued them because
growlers.
I did 22-ounce bottles in my brewery. I just kept doing them, but people bought them in the 22-ounce bottles, because there's certain margins, that the bottles you can do it. I mean, you buy the bottles, they come in a case, you sanitize them, you fill them up, you cap them. A cap is less than a penny, and then they're good. You put a label on it and you put it back in the box, and you can sell it. And then everything gravitated to cans.
I didn't realize how many different crowns you could put on top of a bottle.
There's different colors. Right. You can have your name on it and everything, you can cork it.
Different styles. I mean, even underneath with the ceiling and stuff. I mean, they can be.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch.
Be clever.
But, everything gravitated towards cans, and I wasn't prepared to do cans, and you had to buy a canning line, and I made a makeshift canning line. So it was like 4 guys. It took us 6 hours to do 40 cases, and I'm like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
So. And we just made beer, we put it in cans, and we just sold it immediately. Like we had Hannaford was one of our clients. I don't know if you know Hannaford, but we had 2 stores. Like they're kind of like a Wegmans, right? But we had 2 of them,
sure.
And they just whatever we made, they took half of it right away, and then they just sold it right away. And they were asking for more the next week. I'm like, I don't have any more. That's it, because they only have a 7-barrel system, and
So then what happens? Do they just go to the next person who's got, beer available?
Yeah, I mean, they started to get upset, because I couldn't give them what they wanted, and, it was too small. And then we contract brewed at one point, and it was just the same scenario. It's just we made double the beer, but they took double the beer, that week, and they were out of it again. And then I'm like, holy cow! So like I can't win with this stuff.
Sounds like you make good beer.
Yeah, beer. I do. I mean, we make great beer. Yeah, I mean, we had good beer on tap. Everybody used to come in. We had 6 tap lines, and the facility makes awesome beer. Everybody that came in said, I don't find a bad beer here. Usually you have a flight, and then there's like one beer is like that. Yeah. But they're like, I just can't find that bad beer. Everything is really good. I'm like, that's great. Thank you. So it's, okay. But we were a smaller brewery, and, given the change in packaging. How many barrels a year are
you brewing? 500, 300?
Like about 300, I would say, 300, and then kind of scale back, and then, towards the end, wasn't that much, just trying to sell it. And
what do you think is going to happen here in 2020? I mean, like seltzer was 2019 was a big part. Do you foresee anything new? Any new kind of product lines coming on the market?
Well, a hard seltzer is blowing up. Hard seltzer's out of control. Did you realize that Boston Beer Company?
Truly.
Yeah, they're making more non-beer products than they are beer products now.
It's cheaper too, fermented sugar.
It's crazy. He got famous because of Sam Adams, Boston Lager. And now he's making more. He's making the cider, and then Angry Orchard, I think it is, right? And then he does Truly. Mm-hmm. Truly's blowing up too, because his number 1 is White Claw, and number 2 is Truly. But he's like becoming the official beer of the NHL, things like that. An official seltzer of the NHL, right? It's such an official hard seltzer. Now Bud Light's doing the same thing. Bud Light seltzer,
right?
So they see it, and it's the numbers are just crazy, like 2 billion one year, and then it doubles the next year, like 4 billion. Ridiculous.
It's unreal. I think it's the calorie count, really. I mean, I don't find that these seltzers taste better than beer at all. I don't really love them.
No, I don't. I'm not very impressed by them either. But I guess people, it's just perception. They gravitate towards it. I don't know what it is. A lot of women like it,
but calories, 100 calories on a sunny, beachy day, and there's that fit for it.
Well, Michelob Ultra is like the best selling beer. It's like they're making crazy amounts of Michelob Ultra because they're pushing the calories. And then these other breweries are making light beers like Sam and Dogfish Head. He's making a low cal beer, like a low cal IPA. You
discussed kind of being, working out and being fit. I was thinking that, I mean, all of this craft beer over the last 7-8 years, I mean, this has had to be, maybe not yet, but it should be driving personal trainers' revenues up, right? I mean, you would think that gyms or something. I mean, I'm like, crap, if I'm going to drink this beer, drink a few of these, well, I better work my ass off tomorrow at the gym.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I drink beer.
So is that what's driving you to be, doing your marathons? And
me, I'm doing my fitness. Hard. I'm also doing 75 hard too, which is you said you had your friend doing it, so you can't. For 75 days, I can't have 1 drop alcohol. Like that's the thing. Like you got every day, like avoid alcohol. You have to drink a gallon of water. You have to do 2 45-minute workouts, and one of them has to be outside. And it doesn't matter what it is outside, cold or raining or snow or whatever. You got to go outside and do it. Like the other night, I went out. It was like 18 degrees. I'm like, fuck, I got to do my 45 minutes. So I went out and I did my 45 minutes, and I came back. It kills the germs, whatever. And then you got to eat clean.
Your immune system.
I haven't, I've eaten clean too. I haven't had any cake or crap or sugar, not even in my coffee. Like I used to put sugar in my coffee. I just put cream in and avoid sugar, avoid processed stuff. I feel great. Clear head. I'm converting, this fat to muscle and, getting lean and mean. I got another 45 days. I'm on day 30. I got another 45 days left, and but it's cool. And I'm doing it with a lot of people. We keep each other motivated, and I got text. We got a text. Me and 2 other guys. We just text each other like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go out and kill it. Yeah,
right.
Get your ass out there and do that 45 minutes."
Right.
So it's cool, but we keep each other accountable, and then it translates into other things, like, I scored some new business today. Awesome. That's freaking great. So it's a great motivator, a great, but I still love beer. I mean, I love beer. I'm always going to love beer.
Of course.
And when I consume beer, I don't drink a huge amount of it, like I don't gorge on beer. I love to have samples of it, or I'll have like a pint, if I really like something.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy beer. I've never drank beer. I've never really ever in my life drank to get drunk at all, ever. But I enjoy, a tasty beer at the end of the day or with dinner or whatever. Now I do intermittent fasting, so 8 p.m.
Oh, do you?
noon.
Okay.
So yeah.
How's that working for
really
you?
Well
good.
for
I heard about it. It's supposed to be good.
It's really easy. And I've just ran last year. I did the Spartan Super.
Oh wow.
Spartan race, that was 9 miles. Then I ran the Broad Street Run in Philadelphia. It was 10 miles. And then I did a half marathon. So I'm gearing up to kind of do some new races. I want to do 3 Spartan races this year, but every year I do, I'll do 2 months of the year, not straight, but 2 months where I don't drink alcohol. So I'll do Sober October, and I'm actually going to do. I meant to do February. I like to do February no alcohol because of it's short. It's the shortest month. But I went on 6 brewery meetings with my clients and came home with 6 cases of beer, and I'm like, oh no. Well, I guess I got to drink it while it's fresh. So I give a lot of it away, to some folks who maybe don't get to that brewery, so I can help promote them. But I was like, all right, well, I got to push this to February now. So I'll do Sober February.
Yeah, but you got to balance out. I think that's what I do. Like I did the marathon last year, the New York City Marathon, and I was just good at the end of it. And then I didn't run anymore. I just I'm going to take a break. And then I ran maybe like 5 miles once, and then I just kept eating. And then the holidays came, and then I was January, and I was just felt like garbage, and I'm like, oh, I got to do the 75 part. I got to clean out.
Yep.
So I started with that, and I feel good, but you got to balance. You can't, but that's what we're against too. Like somebody going to a supermarket and buying a case of beer, for like whatever, $15 and just guzzling it. I mean, you're not really doing yourself any good. You're supposed to enjoy beer. And that's why I like craft beer. I mean, you go in and you really savor it. It's kind of like wine, you don't drink a case of wine.
Well, it's exactly. And that, what? That's how I had to, 6-7 years ago, I had to explain this to my underwriters. We're sure a brewery, they're coming in. It's like, no, it's not a $2 beer. They're not drinking a beer in a shot. You need to think of these breweries like a winery. Right, so it's I take these breweries. I got to make an underwriter feel warm and fuzzy about insuring them. Giving me the appropriate pricing for this coverage, and now they get it. But years ago, everybody was afraid of it because it was new. It turns out for them to be pretty profitable. Now they do have a ton of claims, as does any business, but insurance companies in it to be profitable. So, but that's how I had explained it. I said these beers are $5 to $8 a piece. I mean, I bought not Founders, Firestone Walker, Flounders Red, oak aged ale. It was like $19 I paid for an 8-ounce glass one time. The people who are drinking this beer, they're not chugging it. They're not trying to get drunk. They're trying to enjoy it.
Yeah. You say Firestone Walker.
And the complexities of it.
I interviewed David Walker, actually, one of our episodes. He's a cool guy. Yeah, I saw him at GABF when I said, hey, I got a picture with him. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he was at one of our events. So the Pennsylvania Brewers Guild is phenomenal. We are very lucky with, so I'm a member of the Guild, PA, Jersey. I write business in all states that touch Pennsylvania, as well as I write a fantastic brewery in New Mexico, Raleigh Farmhouse Ales, that was on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives in, I want to say, like November. And a big one just got the #1 brewery in Nebraska. It's Cross Strain Brewing. And so, I spread out a little bit. A lot of times they find me. And ultimately I keep it not necessarily by choice, but because insurance licensing costs money. And I want to be able to, the folks out in New Mexico said, listen, I'm probably never going to see you. He said, that's fine. Just make sure we have the right coverage, because if I ever see my insurance agent, it probably means something's wrong. So,
yeah.
And I was like, I like to visit you guys, but, I'm not going to New Mexico just weekly.
I got to talk to you about the insurance too, because what I'm doing these craft beer events. And I had some people, I've insured my brewery, and I went back to my insurer, and I'm like, I want to do these craft beer events. Maybe we'll put them on a bus, and we'll bring them to different breweries. And they just didn't understand, like it just didn't compute with them. And they're like, if you do that, we're going to cancel your insurance. That's too much liability. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I know people do this. Why are you telling me you're going to cancel my insurance? What are you, nuts? So I got to talk to you because you understand, you get it.
Yeah,
so.
You can get, so you can do a one-day type of event policy. I mean, but they really don't like any kind of livery, they call it. Like, livery would be transporting somebody for a fee, essentially. You're transporting people. Insurance companies hate that.
Yeah, they were just like crazy. I'm like, all right, no, just... So I'm just trying, I don't know, I have to figure it out, but I will do, I've done one event already. We're looking at some other events to do, but we'll talk about it. Maybe there's some insurance that I can get. Just to protect me.
So there's kind of there's two insurance marketplaces. One is your standard market. And then when you're starting to do those things like bigger beer events or beer tours, then you get into that, it's called the excess and surplus lines market. It's a secondary market. It's a little more risky that the standard companies don't want to insure, but these folks, in the secondary market will take some bigger risks. Mm-hmm. So it's a different little animal.
So. All right. Hey, well, this insurance is good, for breweries.
It is. It's necessary.
It's necessary.
Everybody hates it because they don't.
If you're opening a brewery, you gotta look into it and make sure you have the coverage. It's God forbid.
Yeah.
But how can people get a hold of you?
Require it.
Yeah.
States have bonds.
How can people get a hold of you if they want to know more about insurance?
Yep. Craftbrewinginsurance.com. You can email me directly at kyle@craftbrewinginsurance.com. Also, as you probably called, 657-BEER-INS. So 657-BEER-INSURance. And then, so I started doing these podcasts as well, trying to get more educational, not on necessarily beer styles, but on the liquor laws in the different states and the different changes that are coming. And Pennsylvania's, last year we created the 12-pack and how the law has changed and what the different brewery licenses mean and that sort of thing. So basically it's kind of me interviewing all the folks within our guild, and going from there. But so that's something new that I've done a couple of recordings, just haven't posted yet. But being President's Day, Teddy Roosevelt is one of my favorite presidents, at least from his, quotes, dear mighty things. So the
man in the arena, I put that on my shirt when I was running the marathon.
Oh man.
That's such an awesome quote. I read it every day.
Those two, yep. Far better it is to dear mighty things than to basically not try anything and never know victory or defeat, and which is basically, the man in the arena whose face is, marred and dusted. Get out there and fight. But yeah, so dear mighty things. I have the T-shirt. I have it on my wall. Man in the arena. Same
dear
thing.
Mighty Things. I gotta look at that.
So the podcast I started is called Beer Mighty Things. So Beer
That's
Mighty
cool.
Things podcast. Yep, that'll be coming out. I want to get 10 recordings before I start posting so I can put them out regularly. But so just trying to educate the folks out there. Truly passionate about this industry. It's a lot of fun, but it does come with risks. It's not going from your garage to a 15, 30 barrel system. There's a lot more that goes into it. So
yeah, it's a business.
Appreciate you having me on.
So I appreciate you taking time to be in here, and you gave a lot of good knowledge. And I'll connect with you, as my journey continues with this. Try to do some.
Very good. I want to hear more about the 75 hard, so I need to
75
get back after it.
I'm still on it. Day 30. We're still going.
Yeah, I need to know more about it.
Cool. You should do it. Get on board. pick a day and start.
I don't know much about it. Is this? Yeah, I just heard about it.
You can go on. It's 75hard.com. Tells you all about it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and you just, it's 75 days. They give you a little chart. You could download it, and it's just those things. You got to drink a gallon of water. You got to take a picture of yourself every day, front, back, side.
Okay.
You got to...
do I give that to my wife then?
45-minute... you can take a picture. You get your phone. You can do the... actually, if you download the app, My Transformation... Your wife could take a picture if you want. I don't know, whatever.
Text it to my wife every day. Here you go.
You could text it to her, yeah. I look buff. All right. But that, yeah. So, all right. Hey, well, thanks for being on. I appreciate it. And we'll keep in touch.
Very good.
All right, Kyle. All right, great. Thank you. Yeah, it was Kyle Rheiner. He's from Arthur Hill Insurance. He has his own website, craftbrewinginsurance.com. And a lot of knowledge on insurance, what the risks are in breweries. He's seen a lot of things. You know, that if you open a brewery, you gotta get insured, you know, God forbid something happens, you know, it's a business, you know, and it's, there are a lot of hazards, and you just got to make sure it's done correctly. And there's stuff that happens, spoil beer, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, it could be thousands of dollars, right? Get insured for it. But Kyle's the man. Give him a call. Shoot him an email. That's what you have today for you. Go on iTunes or whatever you're listening to. Give us a rating. Give us a review. Click on those 5 stars. Everything will be okay. You know, shoot me an email, michael@craftbeerstorm.com. If you want to hear something else on the podcast, if you have somebody I can interview, point in my way. Feedback, I love it. But those ratings really help us get up in the ratings. It just gets us out there. More and more people listen to us then. And we just spread the gospel of craft beer. And it's great stuff. Helping communities and helping the world get educated about craft beer. That's what I got for today. We were going to see you on Wednesday with another beer style. Take care.